What up, what up, what up? It is the return of the Shark Cove. It's been a little bit of time, and I did say that I was going to do content, before when the Lunar New Year ended. In between it, I didn't. I apologize, but I've got a jam-packed week for everybody. We've got these slates. It's exciting. I'm a little heated because I had to tell Moose everything that happened in the Discord today. We're not going to go over it. We're not here to beg for refunds. We're here to kind of try and bank it and earn it the old-fashioned way. Without further ado, I am bringing show regular back. It is Moose. Moose, how you doing? Looking pretty swole over there. I know you've been hitting the gym.
Let's get it. Summer bod, boys. Let's get it.
Oh man, you're just a couple days away from being like Guggs, right? Shirt off, let's go.
I know I'm getting close there. I'm gonna come in like one of those like super thin ones, those like onesies that guys will lift at the gym. But no, it's just we're having a heat wave here in Cali, so it's kind of hot.
I feel you. It's about 55 here in Virginia, and I didn't wear shorts to the gym today. I was like, I'm just going to wear, I'm not doing anything heavy, so I'm going to wear sweatpants. I walked outside, and I was like, well, that was a mistake. Joining us is a first-time guest. You might know him from Roto Baller, where he contributes an article here and there. You also know him from the Discord and probably Twitter. We've got Mavpickem. How's it going, Mav?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. First timer. I'm not too far from Emrick. I'm out here in West Virginia, so avoiding the Cali heat, but I'm excited we got some LPL back.
Thank you, LPL fans. We
some real league.
Some real league. Thank you.
Some real party action.
I'm excited because this is something that Moose actually is awake for. He can talk, kind of intelligently about. And he seems excited. I'm excited. This slate sucks, but we'll hop into it. Anything's better than nothing. So let's gotta get right into it. Let's see right here. Let's go ahead and add this to the stream. Let's pop this open. That first game is going to be a banger. Probably not. It's going to be going a long time. This could be a game that breaks the slate. I'm not excited about this at all. We've got Damwon, who's playing like turtles. Absolute turtles. And then you've got the Guangdong Freaks, who are also playing like turtles. This game has underwritten all over it. It is the lowest projected game on the slate. It's the lowest projected game I've had all year. In fact, some of the projections were nearing that in a 2-1 for Damwon were similar to some of the projections that I've had for like Rogue in a best of one. That's how inactive both of these teams have been. Moose, I'm going to kick it off with you. What are your initial thoughts about this? Are you excited? Is there any part of this betting line that you're interested in?
No. Damwon Gaming, like, okay, for some reason, like, I think Damwon this year just plays down to their competition. I really don't see why they do that all the time, but they're pretty much just like they have the makings of a mechanically amazing team, but they don't have like the Damwon that we're used to anymore. Like, we just don't have that. We just don't see that from them anymore. So they're constantly struggling to get wins. And I think that's why these series are so short on these early game fights, because they know that mechanically this team can win late game, so they don't really need to do anything but draft well and just farm. So it doesn't feel like this team wants to do anything unless they're forced to, like in the T1 games. And even if they squeak out wins, it doesn't feel like they're confident or they found themselves. It just feels like a really off season for Damwon, where they're not really doing anything until they pay Nuguri real money.
Matt, what's your take on this game? In front of us, I do have their kill death chart here.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with you, Moose. These guys, they kind of play down to their competition. It's, new roster, everything, Deck Dom and Kellen coming in. I was looking at the stats earlier, and Damwon, obviously, Guangdong Freaks, they're a much, much slower paced team. You just look at their roster, and it just screams like scale, because we're not going to really mechanically outplay you. Looking at like combined kills per minute for both of the teams, it's definitely very underwhelming. But what I did notice is Damwon Kia in their losses is where, the party gets to break out a bit. They get a small boost for combined kills in their losses. I'm not saying Guangdong is gonna win. You know, it's definitely it's league. Anything is possible, but in a BO3, I just don't see it. Maybe they drop a game. Um, but yeah, this game doesn't really strike me as the DFS game to target on this slate.
So yeah, one of the challenges in projecting teams like the Freaks right now is that you just don't have a lot of data on what they're going to do in wins. They have this one singular series win, and that was against Sandbox, who, by all intents and purposes, is not a wonderful team. They're not very good. They're kind of one of the lower tier teams. Now, that being said, we then have to kind of rely on what kind of Damwon has done in their losses to project out the Freaks wins. But I think you can kind of almost you almost have to kind of throw out their games against Gen G and their games against T1, because I think that that's a different class of team and they are going to push them differently. So yes, yeah, their combined kills were higher in those losses, but I don't foresee this game being similar to that. Even the Freaks losses have been low scoring affairs where, the game just scales up and then there's like a fight at Baron, and then maybe they're able to respawn and then they get wiped and then the game's over. That's why you see a 16-8 or a 13-3 or this 13-7. It's not that Damwon doesn't have the ability to put up a lot of kills. We saw this last year in spring and in summer that they'd have one or two slates, but they just really, you're going to go broke chasing that. I don't have any interest in this beyond, the $15 GPP, taking a shot at it. I want to target like a Canyon, Decadom, and I think you can take a small wager out on the +1.5, +125. And if you're feeling kind of crazy, maybe like a quarter unit at that 450, just in case the Damwon just comes out of this Lunar New Year and they're looking stale. It could happen. It almost happened to T1 last night against HLE. Other things that
fun.
Yeah, the only other things is that, like, I don't have kill totals on this yet. They haven't released them, at least on Bovada. You can probably find them on Pinnacle or something like that. But I'd venture to guess I'd want to take the under. It's probably going to be like a 21 or a 22. Anything above that, absolutely smash. And then I think if you can get like a first blood, just going back to kind of their stats in all of their games, the Freaks have been just really bad at first blood percentage. Those are kind of the spots that you can make this work, I guess. I mean, I don't hate the Freaks in a really deep GPP situation, but let's go to something a little bit more exciting, maybe, possibly. Mav, tell me about Gen G and Live Sandbox. I know you've got one up your sleeve. Is this the one?
Listen, man. No, it's not. Gen G are minus 1,200 for a reason. Obviously there's not much value in the line there, but if you're betting anything, it would be for the sweep, just because they're just Gen G is going to be a contender. They're going to be a top 3 team. They recently lost to KT roster their last series, so I highly doubt that they're going to drop back-to-back series. They're coming out of the Lunar New Year knowing that they dropped last game when they probably shouldn't have. They were playing a bit disrespectful, and they were playing, kind of for late game. And that's fine. We're playing in a scaling meta and everything. But when you're significantly better than the opponent, you should be looking to push the pace, whether it's through your macro. Like, it doesn't have to be just taking every fight, but you should be applying pressure. And against a team like Live Sandbox, man, it's not looking good for Sandbox. Sandbox, their only success this year, I've watched too much Sandbox, honestly, has been getting an early game lead and then just throwing it away in the mid to late somehow, whether it's a fight and a forced fight or just getting caught out in the side lanes, just like simple stuff that you can, kind of control with vision, that sort of thing. And like I said, Gen G's coming off a loss. I don't expect Live Sandbox to do anything here, to be honestly. It's just Gen G's the way better team. As far as like pace, it's not super intriguing to me, but Gen G, they're probably the most expensive team on the slate. I haven't looked, but the Sandy boys, yeah, literally, I can't find a way to roster LSB at probably 1%.
Yeah, I mean, Gen G, if you take out a couple of those games, and that's, one of the things, you look at the average, they're 16 kills into their wins, allowing about 8 deaths in those wins. But, those are kind of bolstered by a couple of the games, a 23 kill game against DRX, a 20 against DK. These are games that, you take it out and you look at what Sandbox has done, and they get rolled. 13, 13, 12, 12, 12. They've had a couple 19s. I guess I can see a world where Gen G is viable for DFS, but quite frankly, they're pretty expensive. What do you think, Moose?
Do Gen Z score points? Because I was looking at their slate, and really it's like Chovy and then nobody else. Like, I mean, if anybody's gonna do anything on this slate, it has to be Gen G, because on the LCK side, because they do have the makings of a team that could do really well in a short stack scenario, because Chovy just consistently scores well somehow. But yeah, I mean, I feel like because they're so expensive, people aren't gonna fit them, and they're gonna try to shove the other favorites in there, which is probably a good way for you to get leverage on like a short stack or like a one off.
Yeah, so we'll go into kind of like how their points look. Chovy has been the guy that has, bolstered or been the highest fantasy producing part of that team, despite the fact that we are in this kind of ADC meta that kind of would fit what you thought Ruler would, or what Ruler has wanted to do in the past, or what Gen G has wanted to do with Ruler. But I feel like they've kind of stepped away from that and not necessarily needed it. When you look at this line, I don't have really any interest in any part of it. I guess in the same ilk, you could go ahead and take a 1.5 plus 170 for Sandbox, hope they win one game. But I guess even if you think that that's the case, because I don't think Sandbox wins, I'd probably just take, if you think they win one game, I almost think I would take the 2-1 Gen G at plus 265, just getting a little bit better odds. You are obviously cutting the range of what can actually happen for you to be successful down, because you're going to hate yourself if Sandbox ends up winning the entire series. I just don't see it happening. I suppose you could probably just hedge it with one of these or bet it live.
What was that game that Gen G lost before we went into the break? Was that just their like we don't give a crap game? Like,
well, they played KT, and despite what we saw from
the
KT today,
those teams are like, no matter what happens, like for some reason those two teams are always 50-50. It's always KT is like the kryptonite of some teams like Gen G.
Well, and KT's been good.
They have, yeah.
They anytime you have a team that has aiming on it, aiming can absolutely carry the team. He can do some really weird stuff too, but I mean, we even saw it today where aiming did absolutely carry. I think game 2 it was on Siri, no surprise. But when aiming doesn't come to play, KT doesn't win. So look, I expect Gen G to win. Gen G was the initial part in a lot of my cash builds. We'll talk about that initial or in a few seconds or minutes here. At minus 1200, they kind of logically feel like they should be in some phase or manner in your cash builds. But let's get rid of these LCK teams. We'll talk about LCK dogs. We'll talk about how they're constantly in the GPP winning lineup. As we get to some of these, I think they look like they're clear cut. The odds would tell you that they're clear cut, but I don't necessarily think that they are clear cut. And that's maybe because I don't trust any of these LPL teams, because we are not talking about the cream of the crop here. We are talking about, first and foremost, JD Gaming, JDG versus Team WE, the initial gaming teams. We've got a JDG, a whopping minus 280 favorite. Team WE plus 205, plus 1.5, minus 155. Mav, is this the game that you have up your sleeve?
So initially, I was looking at the lines, and Team Wii was pretty intriguing. Obviously, there's still no Beishang, which is, if they had Beishang, I would be all over this line, whatever. But it's not the case. We have View still jungling, and I was looking at the stats. He actually has slightly better stats than Kanavi. Do I think he's a better player than Kanavi? Not necessarily, but the matchup, in this meta, you could make the case that like you just lock in Xin Zhao or Lee Sin, and then you just let the team do the work, right? But It's interesting because JDG, they're probably going to be super high owned. Hope, he's subbed in recently and he's been performing really well. Yagao he's coming off of that great performance versus FPX as well. Team Wii is interesting. Shanks, he's not terrible. He's actually had really good stats as well. Same with Team Wii support Kadaya, whatever you say. But he's been linking up with View and Shanks. They've been making plays around the bottom side, which is what you want to do in this meta. And pretty much ignore top lane for the first 14 minutes because of the teleport changes. But what I saw when I was looking at the stats, 369, he's middle of the pack. Nothing to write home about, but Bu is actually like the bottom top laner and like kill participation, kill share, damage, which is fine. Like I said, in this meta, you're playing around the bottom side anyways most of the time. So it's dicey. I would have some exposure just because, JDG, I really think they're going to be pretty high owned. You look at, like I said, mid jungle, Kanavi and Yagao versus Shanks and View. I think that's going to be like what kickstarts the carries for both teams, both bot lanes. They're just going to try and get their leads mid jungle, transfer that lead over to the bot lane. I totally forgot. Team Wii, they're playing Zing right now. He only played 2 games so far when they got swept by LNG. So obviously LNG's bot lane is much, much better, arguably, than JDG's. They've been playing out of their minds, Light and Lamau. But so I could see a world where, JDG just they come out flat. Like you said, this line is kind of heavy coming out of the Lunar New Year. These aren't top tier teams we're talking about. And Team Wheat, like I said, I personally think, Shanks is going to hang with Yagao, and it's going to come down to the bot lanes where I hope he's going to be super chalky because of the pop-off performances he's had so far, but you never know. I'll have some exposure.
Yeah, I mean, it is after Lunar New Year, so that was I don't understand what's going on here, Spell. What's your take on this, Moose? What are you feeling here? I mean, I think that looking at some of these numbers, it's hard to deny that JDG, despite some of their early season struggles, we want them to be good. We feel like the addition of Hope is going to make them better, and Team WE has shown flashes of something. I don't even know what it is. I mean, Shanks has looked good, but they've shown flashes, but they've fallen flat. I mean, can we really blame them? Losing the last couple series, TS, LNG. They've had, realistically, they've had a really, really tough schedule. I mean, Weibo, Victory 5, Top Esports, LNG. I'm probably missing a game there. What do you think, Moose?
I mean, in terms of betting, I think that the LPL is the LPL for a reason, and in this case, JDG are known for their lack of discipline. It's the minus 280 in the LPL is like 50-50. A lot of times, I mean, when you look at a slate like this, you don't really have a lot of ways to go, and if these are our best dogs, then I'll stick with them. I don't really care who's in the bottom lane because, like you said, Mav, Kadai is good enough to hold their own, and the 80 carry, I don't really care because I know for sure that they're gonna play one of 3 80 carries that plays well late game, and I mean like a piece of bread can play better than, and if they have like 3 or 4 items stacked 80 carry champions that just press one button and kill everybody, so you don't really need like an intense skill curve to be good there. So I think that you're definitely taking a shot on WE here. And then in DFS, obviously, you're looking the direction of much
we'll get there.
Much focus on this game. So yeah,
we'll get there. So I think that you can take a stab at WE here. I'll explain my position on that in a little bit. I'd probably more lean towards the win, but it does just come around to strength of schedule, who WE has played. I'm actually not missing a game here. Despite the fact that we had a Lunar New Year, 2 weeks off, I was scrambling to update my sheets. They were incomplete. All the ERLs are up to date, but unfortunately, the LPL and LCK weren't, and whatever. Going into the next game, though, we have another banger. Rare Atom. Love Rare Atom. Always have loved Rare Atom. I'm a truther for Rare Atom. I thought that they were going to be really bad. I bet their unders, and they've just been somewhat okay. They've been better than what we thought. It was one of those things where you take who was perceived as one of the two better players from the team, or good players. You had Leanne, you had Fofo. The other pieces were okay. Don't get me wrong, but those were the kind of the pieces that held it together. You take Fofo out of it and you put in Strive, and you expect to take a step back. Now, personally, when I made the bet, I thought it was going to be Forge. And we all know Forge is terrible. Can't even make it on anybody's legend. So, look, taking the under when it was Forge was a great bet. Once Forge got sold, I was like, oh, man, they sold me. They sold me on a bag, and it has been dropped. But we've got Invictus Gaming. This is not your normal Invictus Gaming, but it is. Like, they're bad. Like, you don't want to play them. But I think we know that they're bad, as opposed to, well, we're not really sure because it's rookie, it's the shy. Like, they could pop off for 30 kills. They're going to beat teams that they shouldn't, but then they're going to lose to teams that they shouldn't. Like, that was like the whole MO for the last 2 years. Yeah, man. I mean, like, Moose, what are you thinking here? I know you used to ask the question, are they good? I mean, but is Invictus good?
Yeah. Invictus is not good. This just feels like to me, it feels like a low score win game for our friends over there, Rare Atom, they're going to squeak out some 14 to 16 kill wins, and they're going to collect their paychecks and go home. I don't really see anything else here that particularly interests me or keeps me at bay. I just don't see how. I really don't see how this plays out any differently in my head. I think IG has so much brand name that people just can't look past the fact that they're playing people that are just not good.
Yeah, so the one thing that I'm hesitant on here is we've been playing in this meta, and we've been playing in a meta of unders, but I will tell you, yesterday in the Ultra League, I know that this is a kind of a much higher league than that, but let me read off to you the over unders or what the kill totals were. We had a kill total. Give me a second here. Let me find it. I posted it somewhere. Where is it? Oh, so the 5 games. They went for 52, 40, 39, 34, and 44. Your boy was on a bunch of unders that day. I only bring this up because, a lot of those games, the level of competition, even within the league, it was a lot closer. And, I feel like Rare Atom is better than Invictus, but I'm not sure. Like, I look at these names, I look at the way that they win. I look at the way that they used to win, and I don't know, is this a mirage? I don't know. I look at Invictus, and I see that the way that they play when they're not playing top teams, when they're, in the Demacia Cup, when they're playing in Nest, and they're completely dominant in those type of situations. And I want to believe that they're better. So, Mav, I'm going to ask you, like, is this Invictus team that I only have win data with 12 kills per win and 2 wins against a terrible TT team that kind of threw one of those games? Is this a team, despite the fact that since that first week, they've only had double-digit kills one time, well, twice? Is this a team that can win today? Should I be putting my money on it?
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Should you be putting on your money on it? Yeah, it's questionable. But I certainly believe that RA are slightly overrated. Okay. Leon is the motor that drives this team, right? I was looking at the stats. He's the only player in like the LPL who has 100% counter pick rate. So like they're setting this guy up for success, right? And that's fine. But when you're in a bot focused meta and iBoy is playing like absolute dog, I am willing to sprinkle some action on Invictus Gaming because iBoy has just looked terrible, man. We've seen the iBoy of past, right? Just like complete Kaisa menace, or like you would think he would fit well in this meta. RA, they were playing with Zora, but they subbed him out last week, their last series for Uyanja, who was formerly on TES. I initially thought that would be because Zora, he's more engaged based on what we've seen. We've seen him play like the Leona, the Braum, the Thresh, whatever. Yanja actually played a good amount of Yumi on TES, so I was thinking maybe you give iBoy just the Yumi buff, help him scale a bit harder, just because he's been struggling. But when I look at like his positioning and everything, he has just looked absolutely terrible. I will agree with you, Emrick. I was impressed by Strive. He's had some good performances for sure so far this split. And up against Uakai, who's like he's in the bottom tier of mid laners, and he's the bottom in a lot of stats. But the key for me is going to be sort of the last game as well, like the jungle ADC pairing, and as well as the jungle moving around with Sup. And I personally am a fan of Lucas. He's actually really solid support in my opinion. He got some playing time last year. He's still developing per se, but literally this guy on for Invictus Gaming, he had to face Elk last week, which is, Elk is a really good ADC, but I think just the way that how underwhelming iBoy has been on, I was looking at his stats in the LDL. He plays the Aphelios and Jinx pretty well, really high KP, really high kill share. He actually plays Draven as well. I know IG has a thing for Draven for some reason, and I wouldn't be opposed to it in this meta. You're trying to get your lane ahead, bully these late game AD carries in the early game. The Jinx, Aphelios, even the Jins that get picked. I'm just willing to take a shot at this number as well. I do think it's interesting, like you mentioned, just the amount of kills they're getting, and the lack of kills they're giving up in their losses. I could see a realm where this game could go off. I just think the WJDG game looks more appealing off the bat in terms of pace. But another thing about on the ADC for IG, when he was playing in the LDL, he was mainly he's the AD carry, but he was playing with a jungler who was the main motor of that team. So Zune, who we all know is a really solid player. I know you're a fan of him, Emrick. I have no really hate against the guy.
I was. He was the guy that fucked, but he got neutered. He got neutered.
It seems. In this meta, the Diana's back, the Xin Zhao. I can still see a realm where he, just took some Viagra or something before the Lunar New Year, and now he just fucks. Like when you're looking at that angle, Leon, like I said, he's been playing super good, but it's also a Leon revenge match, right? He used to play for IG, so he might have a little extra motivation. But I'm taking shots at Invictus. It could end very badly.
I think it will. I do think it will. Here's some things that I'll point out. Like, so this meta is a scaling meta. Dragon Control RA is the second best in the entire league at Dragon Control. Yes, I'm going to take some of Gelati's statistics and give them to you. I can't give them to you all because if you want them, you can sub to his Patreon. But one of them is, kill agnostic economy, and RA is 6th. IG is 14th. And if you look up and down IG's list, I mean, I don't think anybody would be surprised, but there's a lot of 16s, there's a lot of 15s, there's quite a few 17s. It's not to say that the rare atom statistics are jumping off the chart, but most of them aren't in the double digits. Let's put it that way. This Invictus team, I mean, I think you're trying to talk yourself into it, and I'm not going to tell you that I want to talk you out of it. I'm just actually more so talking myself out of it. Those LDL stats, I don't know if they completely translate. You look at guys like Zune, you look at guys like Captain, and these guys were heralded when they were coming into the league. Captain, unfortunately, was behind Rookie, and so he got shipped off to TT. That's not good. You get replaced by Twyla. That's not good. Now Zoom gets to play with the Shy and Rookie. Now that doesn't matter what you think about the Shy from a inter standpoint, from a griefer standpoint. The guy's very mechanically talented. He knows what to do, and he makes him look better. And quite frankly, I thought Nenye was pretty good too, or Nenny, or however you say his name. But you need a scapegoat in this team, and you can only swap out the other guys so many times. I wouldn't be surprised if Invictus won. But I'm really expecting RA to win. I don't know if this is going to be a high scoring game. I don't believe that it will be. I think it's going to look like these 17-8, 17-6, something like that. I mean, even when you look at kind of RA's standpoint, that fits into it. Even if it's reversed, I don't suspect that it's going to be much different. So I do agree with you that, the game to target is that JDG WE matchup, depending on which way you fall on it. You might have to take a stab at one of these dogs, and I get it. If you want to play a favorite and a dog, and the favorite that you want to play is JDG Gaming, well, then guess what? You're probably playing Invictus, because I don't think Sandbox is winning. Somebody in the chat called it out. Go ahead, put it on a bet slip, and don't come back and say, hey, I called it, unless I see it on a bet slip. Because if you called it, I want to see it on a bet slip. That's how we do things here. Conviction, Western style, or get the odds. Get the odds. Like, you should get the odds in this one. Like the Freaks, damn one. Like, these are not attractive games. So let's take a look at this from a let's take a look at Cash. I know, Moose, you're playing Cash. Mav, I don't know if you play Cash, but Cash has been very, very favorable this year in all of the leagues. So figuring it out is kind of where we want to go. So most people are going to probably play Gen G. Would you guys agree with me on that? Minus 1,200 favorites, the people that are looking at statistics, the people that are not looking at actual league gameplay, that are just hitting their optimizer button, as somebody would say, probably going to Gen G. Is that correct?
They're just too expensive.
They are expensive. You
can't really fit them unless you're playing like two players, or you're stacking them as a short stack with like RA.
So look, if you go with favorites, let's take a look at what we can do here. I didn't project team points. I apologize, guys. We're looking at 2-0 wins here. You can get them with Damwon. You're going with a support captain with JDG. You're at 513. 556 with JDG, again, support captain, and with RA, you're going and you're getting a strive captain. Like, this is one that I think is actually super interesting.
I saw that one, yeah. But again, you got Cube up there, and you know how I feel about Cube.
Look, you've got Cube, you got Zika, you got a shape, or you got a disease. Which one would you prefer? You know what I'm saying? Which one's going to win out? So that's an interesting spot there. But let's, if we go away from this, the obvious one, the most attractive one, is probably right here. And I think there are kind of a couple different variations that you can do here. Even I think going with like a Lian captain, if you wanted to do like a 4-3. But you're up at 587, obviously not taking into account team score. Which one do you feel better about? Like, do you want the extra 20 points going with JDG, or do you want the kind of safety going with Gen G? Or are you afraid that the team slot that's not projected, Mav, because I'm lazy and I don't project team slots, are you afraid they're only going to get like 7 towers? They're going to kill Baron and leave the 2, side towers just go right down middle, and, maybe only have three dragons at that point.
Yeah, that's possible. I think the JDG Wii game is probably the game you need to get right on the slate. And I'll just say right now, out of, like I said, I'll have exposure to both Wii and IG, but the dog I prefer is definitely Team Wii. I pretty much have him as a lock to win a game versus JDG. JDG, they're coming off the 2-1 versus FPX. They very well could have gotten swept, but Kanavi had a Baron steal in game 2, I think it was. It was either game 1 or 2 that just completely shifted it. JDG got a fight after that and just ended it. And Team Wii, they have solid players. I really wish they had Beishang, but still, View, he performed well in the Kespa Cup. He was playing like Talon and like these aggressive champs. He's played 4 straight games of Viego, and Kanavi isn't really a Viego player, so like he's comfortable on the Viego. I can see a world where Shanks just pops off. Yagao, he doesn't get his Zoe, he doesn't get his Victor, but I would definitely lean towards Genji for cash, but
Yeah, well, okay, so I agree with you there. So here's the one thing. So, Elliot just made a point here that he thinks WE is trash and that you're going to bet that they sweep. Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. When it comes to Team WE, and the reason that I think it's easier to buy into them is just simply based on who they've played. They've played Weibo Gaming, they've played V5, they've played Top Esports, and they've played LNG. These are all top tier teams. Now, think what you will about Top and the problems that they've had. They haven't been a bad team. They've just been bad relative to our expectations in the context of what we thought. I going in were one of my favorites to win the LPL, and right now, I'm worried about them even making the playoffs. Mark coming in, it's going to really make a big difference there. Maybe, I don't know. That was facetious, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe Zhao's not good. But so, can we really judge what Team WE has done based off of the teams that they've played versus JDG? It's not like they've had an easy road either. They've played EDG, they've played RNG. LGD's kind of a gimme, and then they've played FPX. So, neither of these teams have played a team necessarily of the same caliber of each other. So, yeah, which way does it go? I mean, which way does it go? I think that it's going to be the high-scoring game. I don't think that there's any surprise with that. My question is, if you're playing Team WE and you're putting them in your GPP lineup, who are you stacking them with, Moose?
Jen. You have to stack him with Jen.
What do you think, Mav?
I agree. Jen, like I said, they're coming off the loss. Sandbox, they should just completely roll them. Sandbox, their only success, like I said, has come from the early game. So if they're going to fight Genji, it's going to come in the early game. They're not going to try and scale and out-team fight these guys that they know are just far superior in their mechanical gameplay. So that could result in some 17 kill win for Genji, 16, 18 kill. Plus the sweep bonus that turns out pretty well. If Sandbox, like I said, if they want a chance, they're gonna have to try and hit them early. Some more fights probably.
So if we're building that lineup, who are we throwing in the captain? Are we captaining Team WE? Are we? Look, personally, I think that the obvious, if you're doing it with Gen G, is we're going Shanks, and then we're going Chovy. We're going team for Gen G. How do we fill the rest of this out? Top. Are we going Bew? Are we going Doran? Which way do you go here?
You play Bew.
Okay. Jungler, do we play View? Do we play Peanut?
Now, the reason why you play Bew there, Mav, is because exactly what you said. Is because he's not good, so nobody plays him. so you play him.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of the.
It's all about getting percentage leverages. Everybody knows Doran's good, so you play him. Playing him is kind of repetitive. He's the highest price player on the slate, so and he puts up 75 points.
So do you think something like that's the way to go? I mean, if you're going to take that same kind of, I think you're right that you want to do that in a lot of cases. But in the case of stacking these two teams together, I think more people will go to Bew and they will go to View because they want to put Ruler in there over Zing, right? So I think the thing that you have to do is you play Zing instead of Ruler, who's not been a fantastic fantasy asset.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was going to say that. You don't I've been a Ruler guy for years. I just stick Ruler in my lineup. I beat everybody in head-to-heads. But because Gen G is dominating so hard, Ruler doesn't actually do anything. 100%. So this is why Chovy's so involved with Peanut, because Peanut has this aggressive playstyle where he really tries to get involved in the early game, and the best way to do that is around the mid lane. So you really don't want Ruler or any part of the Gen G bot lane, because I guarantee you that most likely you like what you just put right there, Emrick, was probably the best for a WE stack. And then which also brings me to a leverage play is nobody's going to be on Damwon. So if you play WEDK and you hope for a barn burner, you could get some solid plays. If you could get 100 points at a Showmaker, you win the slate. So
well, and look, and that's where I was going to go with this, because I felt like you walked into what I thought, and it's the natural inclination that you have. You're playing WE, you're playing an underdog. You get the underdog right. You just want to make sure you get the other one right. So I think people will oftentimes go to that safe team, and Gen G feels like the safe team. But I think the better spot to go to would be like a Damwon. I think even an RA, or I don't know, man. If you're feeling really crazy, playing a little IG there with WE, getting a little bit wild. But if you're doing WE with Damwon, I think you're looking at a pretty similar build. If you're looking, like if we're talking about from a chalk standpoint, what people are actually going to want to build, I think that they're going to want to build something like this, right? They're going to want to build a Showmaker, despite the fact that. So let me put it to this way. I would say if you want some massive leverage, you go this way. You go like something like that, or you go something like. I think I don't know. I don't think you can do that. Like I think you still go with Zing. I think you do this. I think that's the one off. That's not the optimal. Between these two teams, the optimal looks like it's.
Who's playing the top lane for Damwon?
It's going to be Birdall, but people don't know that for sure, and so people are going to go to sleep. I mean, look, we can't be bailed out every sleep. By,
I want a refund if it's Hoya, damn. I want a refund. Who's playing the top lane? Oh man, I feel like we're speculating a lot about WE, but like we're only looking at them because they haven't because we don't have anything else in the slate. We're like trying to find a needle in a haystack, It's like I wish there was more gusto to this, but like EJ Carney's going to tell us is that JDG is going to 2-0 this, and we're going to sleep soundly. So
what it comes down to for me, when you're looking at these different teams, obviously the 4 favorites are all cash viable. I don't think Damwon's a great cash play because of all the reasons that we said, but if you play Damwon because you think they're going to beat the Freaks, and I think that they will as a small stack, I don't hate that. JDG has had a similarly tough schedule to WE. I would say it's slightly easier, maybe slightly harder. You've got EDG, you've got FPX. You don't have top esports. You had LGD. Maybe it's harder. Maybe it's not. Who cares? They're the favorites. Gen G's obviously the safest. I feel like they're going to win. RA feels like the most suspect of this group. And I think that's just because they're not a flashy team. And again, at the end of the season, we might say, maybe they're not suspect. Maybe they've snuck into the playoffs. Maybe, we still think of top esports as a decent team, despite the fact that they're sitting around like that last playoff spot. That last playoff spot was like, RA was way above that last season. And I don't think that this team's all that much different than last season's in the stylistic that they play. But when it comes to, the large field GPP, the $15, if you're playing that, I do want to sprinkle in some freaks because I think that they're live in the sense that they could win you the $15. I want to play some Invictus and even some Sandbox. I don't know if I'm going to go to any of those teams with any type of regularity in the 44, in the 333. I don't know if I have the balls for that. I just don't know if I do. Like, I don't think I can. I feel like Nathan's going to play Invictus. He's played Invictus almost every single slate. And, look, it's you gotta bink a showdown golf every once in a while if you're going to play Invictus every slate, or if you're going to chase that Damwon ceiling game. Those are two things. I'm not sure, but one of those will make you go broke quicker than the other. But you're going for both of them. If you're taking an IG with a IG Damwon tonight, I'm playing it in the 15, but that's it. That's it.
IG Damwon. I mean, the only reason why we're considering IG here is because RA has just had a brutal schedule. They lost a super close match to LNG. They should be 2-2. They should be 2-2 realistically. So I think that RA have what it takes to easily beat IG, but again, we're grasping at something here. They beat Top, who are just suspect. They almost beat LNG, except for they just got turned late game with better comps, and then they go up against BLG and V5, who are obviously playoff favorites. So this is like just watch RA for the next 4 games, because they're just gonna get the easiest teams. They're gonna have Disneyland for the next.
Well, and quite frankly, they should have beat V5. I think that they played very uncharacteristic to what style they play. It was, what it reminded me of now that I think about it, that epic throw by BDS that cost me thousands of dollars. There is a beautiful world where BDS doesn't throw and
Unreal.
so many better things happen the rest of the weekend. I don't go buy, some whiskey. I don't black out. I don't throw a $300 random bet on Golden Guardians live as soon as I see Ivern, and then wake up the next day oh, well, that didn't work out. So, but RA, they threw it 3 times, and by the time they were done throwing it the 3rd time, they no longer had the lead to throw it again. In fact, now that they were behind, Rookie was at 10-1-1. He was a 10-kill victor at 25 minutes. He was zapping them for all of their health with combos, and then they just were mentally boomed from there. I want to, point out the comment here. People do like to play the LPL games, and you're absolutely right. The LCK favorites do give you some level of safety, especially when they're a mega favorite. But we have seen more upsets in the LCK. But just going back to what happened so far with Damwon this year in terms of what they've done on a kill death rating, it's not there, and that's why I don't want to go to Damwon in cash. I think you can go to Gen G, but you run into the fact that Gen G is a minus 1,200 favorite, and Gen G is super expensive. So unless you're playing them with the one team that you can play them with, which is going to be RA as a favorite, otherwise you're playing support captains, and I don't want to play a support captain. That's just not what I'm going to do in cash. And if that means I'm going to lose in cash, then I lose in cash. It happens.
Yeah, I'm not playing a support captain, but I will tell you that I think your goal tonight for cash is to go full EJ Carney and fit as much JDG. I won't tell you how to do that because I just figured it out myself, but you just need to fit as much JDG in your lineup as you can.
So I'm going to tell you what you need to do. You need to play RA. You need to play Gen G, but you need to do something can we, I don't know if we can do this. I was going to say well, look, man, because what you need to do, just like our boy Vince did the last time JDG played, you just need to one-off Yago. That's it. One-off Yago for all the money. That's the way to go.
One-off Rookie. Oh, one-off Rookie, one-off Yago.
Yeah.
Yeah. When's the JDG TES match coming up? Because I want to watch that Zoom Yagao match. Because I think Yagao's gonna eat. I think he's gonna beat his brother up.
So look. This slate might not be great. It might not have whet our appetite. Well, it's going to whet our appetite. Yeah. We're hungry. We're hungry. Give it to us. Especially after the freebie that we had last night. You win or you don't lose. It's great. But tonight you win, you lose. You got 4 games. Here we've got 3 games with Ultra Prime versus Anyone's Legend. That's going to be a shit show. I'm excited. We've got BLG against TT Gaming.
Oh, my God.
Safety, maybe the return of Uzi. I don't know, but Doggo should eat here. And then we have an exciting game at 6 a.m. We have OMG versus Victory 5. Is OMG for real? Is Victory 5 for real? Are they both just complete frauds? Who gives a shit? They're going to have 20 or 30 kills in that game. So I'm excited for it. Yeah, here's the other thing. I'm sorry to let you know, Moose, but we do have word that Zoom could be benched. They are swapping out Sao. Mark, the former LGD Kramer bot lane tandem, is coming in to fill in and play probably Enchanters because that's what his solo queues look like. So
wait, Mark is coming in to play top?
Yeah, is that what's happening?
Because he's going to jam it up or what?
No, Mark is coming in to play support for Sao. He's out.
Oh, for Zuo, yeah. Oh, okay.
For Zuo, okay.
And then there's rumors that Zoom has also been benched. And so who knows? It could be Quing Tang. It could be Wayward. They have a bunch of those guys.
King Tian's good. He could probably play. But which brings the point of playing top lane. Is top lane just going to be the new support? Are they going to play these Janna builds and start running around the map smiting and things away from junglers or what?
I don't think so. You don't see that type of play, I feel like, in the LPL. But even if so, we saw the way to counter it, and Gold Guardians should have countered that FlyQuest strategy. They just another one of those epic throws. But I will tell you what, guys, it's coming back for me. I will tell you today I had 28.5 on a game. Right, I had the under, and they, there's one guy left. They're marching into the base. We're at 27 kills. I'm like, all right, so they kill him, right? And then it's like the support respawns. I'm like, just don't get out of the fountain. Don't get out of the fountain. He comes out of the fountain. I'm like, this mother. And then they kill him, but it's a zillion. It's a zillion. He ults himself. They kill the Nexus. Game ends, 28 points. So it's coming back for you.
Wow.
It's
What a
coming
beat.
back for you.
What a
What a
beat.
beast! Yeah, what a beast.
So
Let's go.
What's the over under on these games today? I mean, sorry, the map kills. Like, is it like 28.5 for JDGWE and then RA and IG is like 25? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, they don't have it posted.
Okay, I got it from Gelati. It was 25.5 for Invictus RA, and then it was 26.5 for WJDG, which is actually pretty low. You'd think that would be, because JDG probably puts up 26 on their own sometimes. So like, why would that be a thing? And then you have 22.5 for Damwon, and then Gen, I'm guessing 23. Let's see.
Hang on. So
22.5 as well. Wow, the LCK games are just sad. 22.5. God, league, change your game, please.
So here's what I will tell you. Yeah, they have it about like 25.5 for like the LPL games. But look, the reason they have it at 25 or 26, and this is going to be part of what happens tomorrow. I feel like a lot of people don't understand projections. It was evident today in the Discord that people don't understand projections. People don't understand how to utilize tools. People don't understand how to utilize data and interpret it and understand that it can be wrong, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. So I am going to have two guests tomorrow that are going to go ahead and go a little deeper into that. We've got Nathan, who just hits a button and optimizes, and he's going to show us how he does that. He's going to show us how he clicks his little button. But I also have got Payer, James McCool, coming on tomorrow. So 8:30, we're going to go over all of that. Before we leave today, Mav, do you want to plug anything? Do you have any final thoughts? Do you have any final predictions? What kind of flag are you going to plant? Are you going to be a Jarvan right here and tell us who's going to win? It's up to you. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
Yeah, man. Like we were talking about, the JDG Wii game seems pretty spicy in terms of pace. I think for cash, Wii Gen G is looking pretty fine. Just because, I feel Wii and Damwon is more of like the 15 or the 44 play, like the GPP, just because everyone's going to want to play Gen G, but it's very, very possible they just steamroll and win with 12 kills, and Damwon, on the other hand, no one's going to want to play that game. It doesn't project out well. So I'm going to plant my flag with Team Wii tomorrow. I think JDG is going to be overowned. They're favorites. I think they should be favorites, but not by this much. Team Wii have looked solid. I've liked the way they've drafted. Shanks has played the Galio. Just some different stuff that, teams don't have as much scrim practice against, maybe. But it's not like a complete out-of-this-world pick. It's just, I think you could out-team fight JDG at this point in time. And, Kanavi, he hasn't been the same Kanavi that he was, last year when they were making their run. So I'm gonna be overweight on Team Wii. And
all right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. Moose, what kind of garbage are you going to play?
Probably IG. but yeah, I mean, W's you have to hedge. The more I think about it, the more it just makes sense to me that Gen either breaks the slate or they just fall in line of a typical 16 or 17 kill game. But if you just trust the numbers that we've seen, and then it should be obvious that the teams that are going to score are going to be the LPL teams and potentially Gen. So you're just pretty much hoping you catch the right ones. And if you don't, ask for a refund.
True.
I think a really interesting build, and I don't know if it's possible. I believe that it is. Before we go, this will be my final partake here, is that we haven't seen the junglers carry entire series, but we have seen them carry entire games. The two strongest parts of RA, in fact, as you can see, these are median projections. Don't kill me if they're not exactly correct, although they've been close. We've got Leanne as the highest scoring in a 2-1. In a 2-0, we've got Leanne and Kanavi. And then we've got Cube, your boy Cube. So let's just take a look here. This is a lineup I'm going to run. I think you guys can figure it out. Find teams. I think we're going to run. Let's go Kanavi. Let's see. I don't know if this can even if it's possible.
It's not gonna work. No, I know what you want to do, but it's not gonna work.
It's not going to work. You don't think so?
Nah.
Damn. You just
flip Leon and Kanavi.
Leon's been eating. He's been eating. He pulled out the Kiana like a couple weeks. Like he can definitely match the Kanavi score.
No, what you have to do.
Oh, take out Cube. Take out Cube.
No. Watch. You go Kanavi and the captain. And then let's do this.
Ain't gonna work.
It works.
Yeah. You don't get enough JD there.
Okay. So then you got 3 and 3. You got the carries. What does it matter? And then you go.
Oh yeah, I wish that would work, but that ain't gonna work. Maybe down.
Well, we got 5,400. You can do the JD gaming. So I'm gonna run that lineup somewhere. If it wins a lot of money, you saw it here first. This is what we do in the Shark Cove. For everybody on the show, if you're not part of the esports department Discord, go to the website. There's a little Discord button. You can take part in all of the fun things that we talk about, especially in the morning. It's mostly a troll chat, but there's some good information there. A lot of other places that you can find information. We'll point it to you. Shark Cove, 8:30, next couple nights. Also, want to plug Friday's show. We're going to have Gugs, the one and the only. He's going to be telling stories from the soccer field, the stories of a referee and the fights that he gets in with parents. I'm excited about it. So you'll see us here. We'll be drinking a couple drinks. We'll be listening to Googs. Maybe we'll have them with an extra hot pizza. Shirts are optional. I'll see you guys all later.